Somewhere near the shattered front lines west of Donetsk, a Russian tank lurches forward through smoke. Its gun is missing, its turret welded shut, and steel cages surround it like ribs from a mechanical animal. The vehicle looks nothing like a tank anymore, more like a moving bunker dragging itself across no man's land. Ukrainian drone footage captures it from above. Sparks, impacts, and then a plume of fire. Yet somehow, the machine keeps crawling. This is what the Russian army has become in 2025. A force held together by welding torches, scrap metal, and desperation. After losing over 4,000 tanks since the start of the invasion, Moscow has run out of illusions. Drones costing a few $100s are shredding vehicles worth millions. Traditional armor doctrine has collapsed under the weight of new technology, and the response has been brutal improvisation. The world is watching Russia's armored core mutate in real time. What began as minor field repairs, cages over turrets, sandbags on hulls, sheets of welded steel, has now evolved into something unrecognizable. Turretless, turtle tanks, Franken vehicles, and rolling coffins designed not to fight but to survive. Their appearance signals a shift in warfare's DNA, the death of the classic tank battlefield and the birth of a new kind of survival engineering. And behind these bizarre contraptions lies a story of panic, adaptation, and the slow dismantling of what was once Russia's most feared weapon. It started quietly. A few scattered videos on Telegram showing Russian tanks wrapped in crude metal grills, like medieval cages bolted to 21st century machines. At first, analysts laughed, but the laughter stopped when it became clear why those cages existed. Ukraine's battlefield drones had changed everything. FPV units costing less than a cheap smartphone were striking the weak points of even the heaviest tanks. Engine decks, hatches, optics, and ammunition carousels. Hits that once required guided missiles were now achieved by teenagers flying custom drones from basements and bunkers. By early 2025, more than 70% of Russian tank losses were caused by unmanned systems, not artillery or anti-tank missiles. For the Russian army, the math was humiliating. $2 million worth of steel undone by $500 worth of plastic, wiring, and explosives. No doctrine, no armor thickness, no heroic assault could fix that imbalance. So they did the only thing they could. Adapt, if adaptation still means something when it's done with a blowtorch and panic. At repair depots behind the front, crews began cutting off the very turrets that once defined the tank. Without the 125mm gun and its carousel of propellant charges, there was no risk of the catastrophic turret explosions that had plagued Russian armor since the 1970s. These vehicles became something else entirely. Slow, blunt troop carriers, armored taxis meant to move men closer to the front before the drones found them. The irony was brutal. The symbol of Russian firepower, the tank gun, had become too dangerous to keep. What remained was a shell, a 40-ton body stripped of purpose and turned into a moving coffin with just enough armor to delay death. Up close, these vehicles look like relics from a world that forgot what a tank was supposed to be. The main gun is gone, replaced by slabs of welded armor and sometimes a crude metal cage curved like a turtle shell. Reactive armor blocks, once packed with explosives to deflect shells, now sit empty, a visual bluff meant to fool drones scanning from above. Beneath the plates, wiring runs haphazardly across scorched hulls where mechanics have patched systems together with whatever they can scavenge. Most of the conversions begin as T-72 or T-80 chassis stripped of their turrets. In theory, removing the gun saves weight and eliminates the autoloader's carousel of propellant charges, the same design flaw that made Russian tanks erupt like volcanoes when hit. In practice, it turns the vehicle into a blunt instrument. There is barely space for 8 infantrymen inside, packed between fuel lines and transmission shafts. They ride crouched in heat, noise, and diesel fumes, their only protection a few centimeters of steel and hope that no drone sees them first. Engineers call them armored personnel carriers. Soldiers call them barbecue tanks, because once fire reaches the interior, escape is almost impossible. There are no rear doors. Crews must climb out through the top, over jagged metal edges and barbed wire meant to stop drone grenades. Many never make it out. Some models mount improvised machine guns or anti-aircraft turrets on the roof, but they rarely last long. The extra weight cracks suspension arms, and the top-mounted guns blind the driver's narrow periscope view. In daylight, they move like shadows, slow, heavy, always trying to hug tree lines and ruined buildings for cover. At night, thermal drones still find them. The heat of their engines glows like flares through the darkness. And yet Moscow keeps building them. Not because they work, but because the alternative is admitting they don't. Ukraine's counter was as simple as it was merciless. If Russia wanted to turn tanks into moving bunkers, Ukraine would treat them like bunkers, immobile targets waiting to be dismantled piece by piece. Drone teams across the front received new priorities. Don't waste explosives on the armor. Go for the tracks. Every damaged wheel, every snapped tread turned a so-called turtle tank into a stationary target. Once stuck, the real work began. FPV drones armed with shaped charge warheads dived straight through the vehicle's roof. Others dropped thermite, an ancient chemical mixture that burns at 2,700 degrees Celsius, hot enough to liquefy steel and melt through the improvised shells in seconds. Footage from the front shows glowing rivers of metal running down the tank's flanks while trapped crews tried, often in vain, to climb out. But Kiev didn't stop there. Artillery units began using clustered fire missions, multiple guns timed to land simultaneously, ensuring no vehicle survived long enough for repair. Drones hovered high above, guiding fire in real time, adjusting each volley until the armor cracked. By spring 2025, Ukrainian forces were destroying these conversions faster than Russia could weld new ones together. Each kill had a secondary effect. The psychological shock of seeing an entire platoon vanish under a single thermite strike was enormous. Russian soldiers started refusing to ride inside the new machines, preferring to follow them on foot instead, turning armored transport into an empty decoy. What had been sold as innovation was now a liability, even to its own troops. Western analysts call it the industrial collapse spiral. Every adaptation Russia makes against drones costs more resources and produces less result. Every drone Ukraine builds costs less and kills more effectively. It's asymmetric warfare stripped of theory, proof that ingenuity now outweighs armor. By mid-2025, the image of Russian armor lumbering across Ukrainian fields had become a relic. What remained were welded shells, monuments to a doctrine that no longer fit the battlefield. The tank, once the centerpiece of Russian warfare, had been outpaced by $500 drones and battlefield intelligence that sees everything. Ukraine didn't just destroy vehicles, it dismantled an entire military philosophy. For Moscow, The turtle tank era marks a symbolic defeat. Each new conversion is a confession that the old ways no longer work. Instead of projecting strength, these machines broadcast weakness, armored proof that innovation without control is chaos. And yet, beneath the wreckage, a new rule of war is visible. Agility beats armor, intelligence beats mass. In Pokrovsk, Donetsk, and beyond, every burned-out tank tells the same story, one nation evolving faster than the other can react. The age of the tank is ending. The age of adaptation has begun.